Okay. Doody doody doo. Okay. Starting. Are you ready? Alright. I will not be triumphed over. Cleopatra said that. This is a lovely picture of her. We don't really know what she looks like, but yeah, you know. So these are the sources I use. I use a lot of quotes from her, a lot of history facts about her from history.com, biography.com, the Smithsonian Magazine. I also use a definition from Merriam-Webster. So the three main points I'm going to talk about in this speech are Cleopatra ruled as co-regent for almost 3 decades. She gained romantic and military alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. And she sparked up the first kind of thought of feminism. So, first point, Cleopatra ruled as co-regent for 3 decades. Her family ruled Egypt for more than 100 before she was even born. She was born in 69 BC. Her father was king after Alexander the Great died. He ruled as the next king after him because he was his head general. Okay. They don't really know a lot about her mother, so they're not really sure. She could have been, you know, his sister or somebody else's sister because they married in between their families a lot. When her father died, the throne was left to her and her eldest brother. He was 10. She was 18. It was custom for the two to get married after their father died, so they could rule together. They did have a younger brother, but he was only 3 at the time, so he really wasn't involved in any of that. Cleopatra wanted to have all the ruling herself, so she tried to think of a plan on how to defeat her brother and push him out because she didn't want to co-rule. She wanted to rule on her own. So Julius Caesar helped her defeat her brother, and during the war times, he apparently ran away and drowned in the Nile. So her and her youngest brother ruled together. That wasn't really an issue. I don't think the youngest brother really wanted the power. She just had control. She became pregnant with Julius Caesar. They had a romantic relationship, and then the child that she gave birth to would rule as rule with her. And then when Julius Caesar was murdered, her youngest brother also was killed during war times later after that. So the baby was named co-regent. She is associated with the goddess Isis. In Egyptian times, they like to associate like the kings, the pharaohs, and all that stuff with gods and stuff, just so it shows their purpose. And then later, she did have an ally with Mark Antony that also would help her make sure she still kept her empire. In praising Antony, I have dispraised Caesar. Cleopatra also wrote that. This is a picture of her and her lovers. I don't know if this is Mark Antony or Julius Caesar, either one, but there we go. Cleopatra gained romantic military alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. So Cleopatra met Julius Caesar in a time of war. The Roman general came to Alexandria and called a peace conference with Cleopatra and her brother. I can't say his name, so I'm just going to leave it at her brother. But her brother had barred the return of the king's sister to Alexandria, so Cleopatra snuck in to meet with Julius Caesar so they could talk about, you know, helping her regain her power, regaining the throne. And basically kicking her brother out. And as soon as Cleopatra got in there, Julius Caesar was very hypnotized by her beauty, and she was dressed in her best clothes because she really was ready to convince, and she knew she was pretty, obviously. So he agreed to help her. And then after 4 months of war between Caesar and her brother, the Roman reinforcements arrived, and her brother was forced to flee Alexandria. So then she was able to regain that power, and her brother was no longer a threat, and that is when he went and drowned and ran away. Mark Antony was part of the second triumvirate that ruled Rome following the murder of Caesar. So he was in the group that was supposed to be ruling basically after Caesar passed on. He called a meeting for him and Cleopatra to talk about her alliance to the fallen leader, basically what type of relationship her and Caesar had, which everybody knew. She agreed to the request and made an exquisite entrance into the city of Taurus, and Mark Antony was instantly captivated by her beauty and personality, and then a love affair soon bloomed and it eventually produced 3 children. She made an agreement to help him financially support his military so he could secure his own rule over his empire, but in exchange, she sought the return of Egypt's Eastern Empire, which included large areas of Lebanon and Syria. During wartime, Mark Antony received false news, though, that Cleopatra had died, and so he killed himself. This is where the whole Shakespeare thing came from, because when she found out that he killed himself, she killed herself too by letting a cobra bite her, and then the 2 were buried. So that is how Shakespeare came about. It was influenced by Mark Antony and Cleopatra's love affair. Feminism means the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. So Cleopatra pretty much sparked the thought of feminism because she was able to rule her own kingdom. I mean, she did have men helping her, but she was on top. She was on top. She did things that she wanted to do, and she held her own country in a male-dominated society. She was on top. I mean, that's just really cool to be one of the first main, like women able to do stuff like that. She was called Philopatris, which she loves her country, and so she was very patriotic. She really, really wanted to do what was best for the country, not really seeking, all about her and what she wants. So yeah, she wanted power, but it wasn't just all about that. And she calls herself a true Egyptian pharaoh, and she really just sparked it, showing all types of women that they can take control and they can be powerful and rule just as much as men can. And Cleopatra was a great queen. To conclude, Cleopatra deserves a tribute because she ruled as co-regent for almost 3 decades. She gained romantic military alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, and she was the first start to feminism.